Welcome back at WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. I had many images I could have shared behind me. I'm trying to now that I have the new Chiron working, I'm going to get my green screen hooked up so my hair doesn't look Paul Stanley animalized like 85 as it does right now, my rock and roll thing.
Yeah.
But I'm bringing musicians on and old friends of mine, and I sort of have skirted the world of sports and music and business and media and radio and shock jockery and all sorts of weirdness here through all of the years. This guy has been a recurring figure in my life for half of my life, at least. I don't remember the first time I met Jason Siemer. He was working for the Orioles, I believe, at the time. I think I know very little parts about Jason Siemer. I wouldn't call us like friends, but more like Facebook friends because we don't like hang out and drink beer. But I'd like to, and it's not like I didn't at one point reach to you in August 2 years ago and say, dude, I've got a $459 flight to Tokyo. I've got tickets to see you two in Tokyo and Seoul, and you could come with me and we could be complete idiots and take pictures in weird places. I'm sorry you didn't go. I'm sorry for the pandemic, but I love having you on the program.
Yeah.
Puns and Roses, producer, songwriter, artist, photographer, and former artist of Oriole Baseball Field of Magic, where you are. Welcome, Jason, back on the program. What's going on, brother?
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
That's a hell of an introduction I just gave you, man.
I know. I was waiting to say something. You didn't give me a chance for a long time.
How long did I know? How long have I known you? I don't think a lot about this. Like Moeller, if you were produced by Moeller, he would have sent me 8 pages about our relationship, would have quizzed me. And I'm like, no, man, I'm just going to have Jay on. We're going to talk because he and his girlfriend are beautiful singing up on the roof where I've seen Eddie sing a whole bunch this year. And I'm like, I just want to have you on because musicians are like out making money. And like, I dig it. I need you. I need all of you on every bar stool.
Well, we need you too. We're trying to get back to it. I think I met you back in like 1997 because that's when I first started working for the Orioles. That was my first.
Really?
97. Yep.
Feels like it was earlier than that, man.
I'm trying to think. That would have been it. I mean, I wrote that song in 98, and I was there for 10 years. So 97 to 07.
You were there.
Yeah.
You were there when I did Free the Birds.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Like I remember. Dude, it's been so many years. It's been 30 years, right? I kind of thought you may have been there around the strike, like 94, 95.
Yeah. Also in college.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I think we're more contemporary than we are. I think of us almost being the same age. I'm 52. You're like 40, right?
46.
So we are more the same age.
Yeah,
all right,
man.
maybe, okay, we're not that far off. All right. Just making sure, man. Look, I'd love to get a beer with you. I did in good heart invite you over to Asia because I've seen you are a guy who flies to Kuala Lumpur and flies to Bali and goes up on mountains and wants to tackle Ayers Rock and doing all the same crazy stuff that I've done with my life, and people don't call me and say, what was Tahiti like? But I could tell you because I spent 10 days there and I sailed every island and I've been to Australia 3 times. Like all of this, I love that stuff, but that's like who you are at heart. And I guess
totally.
that, your mom, your couch, your humor, you're always in your pictures like this. By the way, my place is for sale. Come buy it from Moeller. You can take these pictures every morning. They're awesome. You don't get smudges in the windows, but like you've really you're a real artist, like truly.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I was thinking back to the U2 thing when you invited me, and I think the reason I couldn't go is I had band gigs booked, and I couldn't just cancel gigs on the band or whatever. But you know me, like, or what you know of me, like, don't put it past me to say yes to those kind of things.
I invited. First off, let me say this, all right, and this would speak to how I feel about you. Okay, my wife would second this. I would never, if you paid for it and paid me to go with you, I wouldn't go with someone I wouldn't want to go with.
I appreciate that.
I
travel alone a lot, honestly.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
One of the benefits of my marriage and me and my wife is we kind of like, here's a song for you. We like the same music. We like the same bands. We like the same clothes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little Bruce Springsteen, Bobby Jean for you.
Okay.
So anyway, no, but I mean, that's sort of like when you travel with someone. I wound up going on that trip with Julio Bermejo, who's one of my dearest friends in the world. And that story went down like Julio and I saw you two together in Sao Paulo, Brazil,
Wow.
back in '06. Julio and I have been around the world together like that. I don't have a lot of people that love you too
Hmm.
and would have the kind of life where they would take 10 days and say, I
Yeah.
will go to Tokyo. I will go
Yep.
to Seoul. You are one crazy ass MF,
Yep.
and I want to go with you.
Yeah.
And I had a handful of people that I called, literally 5 maybe, who would like the band, who would have 2-3 grand, not a lot of money because I ain't going Gucci,
Yeah.
but enough to eat well, have a good time, and get over there.
Yep.
And I was only going because the flight was $450. If
I
the
remember
flight
that
was
was part of it.
$1,800, I'm
Yeah.
not going.
Yeah.
I found it on sale. I lost the sale earlier in the year, and I beat my wife up all summer. I'm like, man, I should have taken that, should have booked that trip, should have booked that trip. It's good. And I waited for it, and it happened in August, and it was one of those like, okay, who am I going to call, right?
Yeah.
And I called Julio, and we were on the way. We were on the road to Hershey to see Hootie and the Blowfish. It's always about a girl, a game, or a song in my life, right? All 52 years. My wife and I are going to Hershey to see Hootie and Blowfish, and I'm in the car, and Julio calls. He's like, dude, I'm a silver flyer on United. I can get us bumped up. I can blah 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 blah. Free bags, or like whatever. I'm like, dude, book it. I got my
Yeah.
passport right here. I will go. And I turn to my wife, and she's driving, and I'm like, and we got beer in the back and chicken wings from Royal Farms. We're going up the tailgate. I turn to her, I'm like, when you see the pictures of me at Budokan
Yeah.
and eating sushi, I now know how to eat with chopsticks, right? So when you see those pictures, you're going to be really pissed that you didn't go with me.
Yeah.
She's like, all right, I mean, I would go with you, but I don't have a passport. I don't have my passport. I'm like,
Uh,
I brought your passport to read it off to Julio, to type it in. Do you
wow.
want to go or do you not want to go? And she's
Yeah.
like, all right, I'll go,
Right.
I'll go. Now she's like the happiest in the world
Okay.
that she went.
Yeah.
But when you travel, you say you travel alone.
Yeah.
Give me a little primer on your, like, because I don't know you well enough other than know. Give your audience, the people that wouldn't know you. I mean, I know you sort of like Pasadena and playing guitar and a rock and roll band and the Orioles and like all of that. But I also like see your art and I see your travel.
Yeah.
And for the people of us who have wanderlust, whatever that is, there's people that are like us with passports that are nuts, and then being locked down for a year like this.
Yeah.
Give
Driving
me a
crazy.
little, like, where was the first cool place that made you go to the next cool place?
Oh man, I think okay, going way back, the first time I ever took a really cool trip is just out of college. One of my buddies, his parents lived on Oahu. They worked for the government or whatever, and they were like,
Ooh.
"Hey, do you want to come to Hawaii?" And I was like, farthest I've been on vacation was like Florida, you know. And I was like, "Yeah." And at the time, my parents were like, "Go ahead and do it. We'll pay for it or whatever." So I ended up going for a week and staying with my friend on
How
Oahu.
old were you?
What's that?
How old were you?
I was probably early 20s at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you
So
had seen blue water like in Florida?
yeah, but I didn't know like what Hawaii was gonna do to me. You know what I mean? Like totally different. And when I went to Hawaii, I was like, I look back at like Ocean City, and I was like, wow, I always thought that Ocean City was paradise growing up. You know what I mean? And I love Ocean City. Don't get me wrong, but it's not Hawaii. So I stayed a week, and then
I wish you and I would have drank more beer together, like up in White Marsh when I live up there or whatever, because I would say this to you. I never went to Hawaii.
yeah.
And
Oh, really?
I finally went to Hawaii a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And again, man, I've been like to some exotic. I've had a really blessed life. I mean,
Yeah.
like I love traveling. I love cool stuff. I never wanted to go to Hawaii, and I turned down a trip when I was working at Sporting News. They wanted me to go to Hawaii to cover the Pro Bowl, but
Yeah.
the Ravens won the Super Bowl in '01, and I
Yep.
wanted to be here for the parade. Rod Woodson, I always kid him. I'm like, you picked Hawaii, I picked the parade, but I had never gone, and
Yeah.
I had a handful of people. I had one man I met one time who was a really wealthy man who had been all over the world, and not a famous guy, but just a man I happened to meet in life's journey. And he told me, because I was going to Tahiti, he's like, Hawaii's the most beautiful place on earth. And he's like, and that's just not me being an American. He's like, I'm just telling you, Hawaii's the most beautiful place on earth. And I heard this, and he told me this, and I guess I was right before my wife got sick. So I guess I was maybe in my early 40s. And he told me that. And I
Yeah.
thought, Yeah, Hawaii. It's 8 hours away. You get to California, you got to fly again. Screw that. I'll go to New Zealand. Screw that. I'll go to Fiji. Screw that. I'll go to Australia. Which all these Hong Kong, all these places, Beijing, all these places I've been. I flew over Hawaii. I never thought to stop. I finally went a year and a half ago, and dude,
Yeah.
it might be one of the first places I go back to. Like literally, right? I mean, I've only been once, and it was a year and a half ago. It was pretty crazy still.
Yeah. And well, that time I took that week, my dad was like, you know, I love how he thinks in that situation. He was like, if you're going out for a week, go for 2 weeks. He's like, we'll pay for another week. And I was like,
like
okay.
Dad,
like, I owe my parents for life for this. Okay. So my friends all flew home because they could only stay a week. And I ended up staying an extra week, and I flew to the island of Kauai. And that's one of my favorite places on earth. And that's the first time I was really
That's where, where Todd Rundgren's place is on Kauai, right?
Okay, I'm not sure.
Okay. It is, I think.
It's beautiful. It's called it's known as the Garden Isle, and it has a Grand Canyon in the center of the island, and it has the Napali Coast, which are all these really sheer sea cliffs. And there's like a lot of hikes, and it's pretty much anything you want on that island. It's a little less commercialized, but that being said, that was, you know, in the early 90s. My girlfriend and I just went back in a year ago, and it's changed. You know, it's starting to build up a little bit, and it's, as with everything, as things get more popular, it loses its, you know, the charm of it being a little more desolate or whatever. But since then I've been to Hawaii 2 more times. So it's been 3 times in Hawaii, hop into as many different islands as possible. We went to Molokai last year, that's the most underpopulated Hawaiian island. And I think the population is like 4,000 or something like that.
Well, when Bourdain did his thing on it, you know, there's sort of notoriously, we don't really want you coming here.
Pretty much, yeah. Like there's signs on the island that say no cruise ships. You know, they don't want that. You know, people try to build there that aren't locals, and they don't have the easiest time politically or with the locals. You know, so
well, they went fishing with Bourdain.
yeah, pretty much. So I mean, I would love to do that. I mean, by the way, that's my like dream job, is to go to places like that and really get ingrained with the locals and do the food and do the video, take photos, make it a story.
You take your guitar when you go?
Do the whole I've taken it. I took it one time because somebody asked me to perform at their wedding on Oahu years ago. So I, you know, played my guitar on the beat for them or whatever, but usually not. I mean, the last trip I took to Bali, it was one backpack by myself. I took a GoPro, my backpack, just enough clothes for, you know, 3-4 days, and try to like rinse stuff in the sink and wring it out and hang it up.
So you really go light. Okay. I mean, well, and I would have been, you know, dude, when I hit you, I said to my wife, I said, you're not, because my wife didn't want to go. And I'm like, I don't really want to go to Tokyo alone. You know what I mean? Like I would, I mean, I'm not adverse in that way. Mm-hmm. Not like when I tell my wife all the time, the first time I went to New York was 1986 for the MTV Video Awards. And cool. I ran into Madonna and Sean Penn backstage and Andy Warhol and all this, but I was scared out of my mind. I drove to New York. I didn't know. I stayed in this hotel that it frightened me. I put the dresser up in front of the door. I mean, I was, you know, like I was a kid. I was 18 years old. It was 1986, you know, it was Ben Orr from the Cars was there. It was badass. You know, I met Mark Knopfler. He was
all part of it.
You know, but being afraid of traveling is not my deal. Yeah. But I'm like, you know, if I'm going to go with somebody, I'm going to go with somebody like you that I've seen on hills in Bali, and thinking, you know what, if I go with this MFer and me and him, we're going to find tempura and markets and sushi and beer and music and Godzilla posters. And we're going to want to see where Cheap Trick played at Budokan. And I want you to want me. Exactly. Jason Siemer's here. He plays rock and roll. He produces things. He takes beautiful pictures of this city here in Baltimore, and bad with names, good with rock and roll and puns and roses. I don't know where we left off with Kauai and Maui. Shrimp trucks, shave ice for sure. And then we went to Maui. We did Maui. I'm going to say this the rest of my life, and I'm going to get back to why I believe that. My hair is getting longer, trying to stay in shape, trying to eat the Brussels sprouts over at State Fair, shop right, eat the organics and wise. But the Maui thing bit me hard in that this is America, and like, this is a hell of a place you got over here, and like, you can hang out over here, wind turbines aside.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I really liked Hawaii. It's the coolest, best place I've been recently. I did Hawaii and Japan and Korea within about 7 weeks of each other. The
Okay.
Ravens played in Seattle, if you remember, about a year and a half ago, the big
Yeah.
Lamar win. That was bye week. We went to Hawaii because we'd never been to Hawaii.
Okay.
Southwest was flying there. And I was like, oh, this is great. And that's why she didn't want to do Japan. She's like, we're already going to Hawaii. And I'm like, it's a $459 flight. It's
Mm-hmm.
Bono singing
Gotta go.
songs.
Yeah.
It's the Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
It's the Joshua Tree. And we get to have like, we can go to Korea and like eat street food and be like, get COVID, which I think we did. Like all
You
of
brought it
that.
here.
But so now we're locked down and I have no regrets, none, zero about anything travel related I did a year and a half ago because I ain't done anything in a year.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put it together. Man, you know, you got bands and music. You've been waiting to make money. I would think like traveling right now, like for any musician, for what you guys do, everybody wants a lot. I want to come and give you money to play music for me right now. I really
You
do.
can do that. I'll take your money.
But the world's changed so much, right? And I guess goals, everything, you know, it's just been a strange year, I guess, more than anything else, for especially for people who do want to get out and do things.
Yeah, it's kind of driving me crazy to not be able to travel. I mean, now that the things are opening up a little more, my band is booking gigs and we're able to do that. And that is such a release because for me, being up on stage and performing is like meditation, which is it's a great feeling to be in that zone as much as possible. But my true love also, which is kind of like meditation also, is that travel and doing solo travel and being in a place that you've never been before on the other side of the planet and just knowing that you're by yourself and you have to like figure out how to do the next thing. You know what I mean? Like, so it's, and then you just meet people. You meet people along the way and you take advice and you doors just open up when somebody says, hey, you should go try that. You just say, okay. And you try it. You know, you have to trust people, but I consider myself a good judge of character. So,
well, you came on my show.
Right. Exactly. That's why I'm here. So, you know, once you kind of like meet up with like-minded people and have good conversations about like what you've been doing, where you're going and all that, the doors open up and then you just go to the next room, so to speak. And then you just keep going. It's definitely challenging to be alone, but it's also so fulfilling. Like once you come back, you're like, wow, I did that by myself. And I met a lot of people and I did things that I never thought I would do. I mean, now I think now I believe in myself more to be able to do it. And I'm going to do it more. But the whole solo travel, there's really nothing like it for me. That's like the highest I get. You know what I'm saying?
I did a Tony Robbins firewalk in '94, so I guess it's before I met you. And I found my notes. I had them out a couple of weeks ago. I was going through them here. And I wrote down that I wanted to go to Australia by the time I was 30. It was like a bucket list before they called them that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went when I was 29. I went right after Elway won the Super Bowl. I had Jason Cole on this week. Go check out his Elway book and Relentless Pursuit. And I pursued Australia. I was 29. Didn't have a girlfriend, wife, interest, whatever. My son, you know, it was school season, whatever. And it was a time in my life I put a little money together and I'm like, I'm going to do this. I did a Kentucky tour, right? So like
I did that too.
My gateway to Australia was a
Yeah.
really cool lady, Debbie, who was a travel agent at the time out in Reisterstown, out by Cherry Hill, Cherry Creek, whatever the road is out there in Reisterstown. And she turned me on, and these were books. It's 1998, you know, it was like a little guide.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, and like, I never thought that I was going to be one of 3 single dudes, you know, with 30 chicks on a bus from all over the world, from South Africa and Germany and Japan. Some spoke English, some didn't. Canadian girls, you know, the whole deal. And I did 28 days in Australia in 1998, my 29th year on Earth.
Okay.
Started in Cairns in the north. I flew into Sydney, but I flew to Cairns. I went deep sea fishing. I caught this gigantic fish for real, reeled it in, fought it, couldn't move my arm. I was wearing my Van Halen shirt when I did that. So like, that was something I did alone. And I wouldn't say that I wouldn't do that alone now, that I wouldn't just get on a plane. post-COVID I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I find experience in the world alone or with other people, but you don't want to be with somebody that's a drag for
Right.
sure on
Right.
that kind of a trip, or somebody that's a little bit of a tenderfoot in my way to thinking like won't try new things, isn't going to eat the sushi in Japan.
Yeah.
You don't need to eat the head on the fish, but you need to at least need to like noodles and rice
Right.
if you're going to go
Right.
with me,
Yeah. You have to be on the same page as far as like they have to know who you are and how you like to travel, and you have to know how they are, and they have to be cool if you just want to go do your own thing because it's only possible you're going to be there one time.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I want to ring
Yeah.
it all that. So, Jay, I'll say this, man. Traveling a long time ago, it was like photos guides, timeout guides,
Yeah.
Berlitz, whatever, little language guides. My wife and I were in South Korea. This will tell you what you missed out on. Okay, so we go with Julio. Julio is first off a connoisseur of tequila. He's one of the tequila ambassadors to the United States of America, married into tequila royalty. His family produces tequila. So he's that guy. And he's doing, he went with me. So he's doing tequila tastings. Everyone in Japan wants him to come to their bar, like all of that, right? He's a little bit of a tequila celebrity in his
Okay.
world. Not a little bit, a lot of it.
All right.
So I'm with him. And so he's kind of off doing his own thing. But every night we can go drink all night at the Four Seasons at the bar with the special entrance that you have to knock on around the corner and they make the drinks that are in the contest. Julio's got a top 50 bar in the world. So
Wow.
he's a judge. So we ran hard.
Yeah.
We're at this bar in Gangnam at 3 in the morning and it's quiet. It's not like this, it's just a night out. It's late. We got in a cab and I live streamed a cabbie trying to torture my wife and I in the back seat. He was driving 160 miles an hour. Like I was doing a KM on it.
Yeah.
On the freeway because he knew we were American. I'm
Yeah.
live streaming it as I see the app, how fast we're going, as the translator is translating me saying slow down in Korean, which
Wow.
he's ignoring.
Wow.
We've come a long way
Yeah.
from 1998 and a travel agent saying, here, go on this. You'll meet girls. It's a Kentucky tour. There's a trip. And then like, there's not even an internet. I had to go to the library to maybe get a book or order a book at the Walden's bookstore on Australia to get the mobile guide or whatever, the world of travel for people like you and me that are still young and sexy and maybe have 20 or 30 more years of not getting on a cruise ship and going somewhere. I'm talking about going and doing Alaska or doing a safari or the things my wife, I want to see the Northern Lights, which is one of my things. The world's changed in that way. And it's accessible if you want to, but you have to want to go see the Northern Lights and you have to admit that it's going to be cold. I told my wife I wanted to go to the South Pole to see penguins, and then Baldinger did it. And then Baldinger showed me the pictures and he told me how it smelled because penguins smell. And then he told me how cold it was and how freaky it was to be at the bottom of the earth on an ice cutter.
Yeah.
And he's like, you want to go to the moon. It's hard to be an astronaut, right?
Exactly.
I mean, literally.
But I feel like that's when you feel most alive, right? When you're getting all those senses and you're in a place that's not just like some like cookie cutter or like, processed like a Disney World or something. Now you could go to Epcot and feel like you're in each of these because that's how they decorate it or whatever.
Hey, don't urinate on Epcot. Epcot's great.
I love Epcot. That's what I'm saying.
Soaring.
But it's not like being in the actual country. I'm sorry. Sorry. It's not. It's funny. Like my dad watches these National Geographic shows and he hasn't traveled as much as I have, and he loves to see my photos and stuff. But he's terrified.
I love to see your photos, by the way.
Thank you. But he's terrified whenever I go on a trip because he thinks he always sees the worst parts of things and he knows that I'm alone, and I get it, and I understand. I wish he would relax a little bit, but he watches National Geographic. He's like, I saw this show, and like it's like these overhead shots, and it was beautiful. He's like, it's just like being there. And I'm like, it's not just like being there. There's nothing that can match.
There's nothing like standing out in front of the Sydney Opera House and watching how the sun hits it and changes the color of it.
Yeah.
And you can only know that if you're there.
Yeah. And then the whole process of getting there and sitting on that plane for however many hours and going through the grind of like, the reward is finally being there and smelling and seeing and hearing and getting all the senses of the actual place. That's what it's all about.
You talk about meeting people, right? So we fly
Yeah.
over to Australia on another trip that was about Springsteen, right? We went to Australia to see Springsteen twice before my wife had cancer and then after. And we went to Auckland, New Zealand and Christchurch the second time. And we flew
Yeah.
back into Sydney, and we didn't even spend any time in Sydney. We spent time on the Sunshine Coast, which is my favorite part. It's very close to the the Australia Zoo. It's beautiful. It's right outside of Brisbane. There's a town, and I want you to remember, it's called Noosa Heads. Remember the yogurt Noosa Heads. Australia is one of my favorite places on earth. Like I don't know if I've admitted that really on the air because it's my little secret and I don't want to let it out, but it's one of my favorite places. And I've actually sent dear friends of mine there recently, and they loved it as well. And we didn't like tour Australia. My wife didn't have that kind of energy. She was just getting back, and we spent some time. We were gonna go. She wanted to dive on the barrier reef, so I took her there, and she wasn't doing well enough when we were there. We had a decent experience, but those islands are beautiful as well. The Whitsunday Islands are incredible in Australia. So flying home, you talk about people you meet. You know, we're on a trip. My wife didn't do so well on that trip after her cancer. You know, it wasn't ill-fated in any way. It just wasn't as good as it could have been because of her energy. We've been better now. She's, better shape. But we were fine, and we had a long flight home. So we're flying from Sydney. We got the long Sydney to LA, 14 and a half hour flight. We sit down, and we were in coach, and it's comfortable, whatever's a Qantas flight. Bunch of girls get on the flight, and they're all in this athletic gear. And they have, all sorts of bags, and they're all wearing Australia stuff, right? I'm looking at them, and the traveler in me, looking at the bags, looking at the girls, trying to figure who they are. Rugby. Okay. They're rugby players. Okay. They're all female rugby players. They come in and they start to like settle in the section. And the one girl sits next to me and she plops down, and my wife's in the seat where she's going to sleep on. It's a 3. So I'm in the middle of my wife and the girl on the right. Plane takes off, and it's rugby team, and I'm a sports guy, right? So we start talking. She's very Australian, and I saw Olympic stuff on all of them. And, I'm like, I'm not on the plane Googling who they are, anything like that, right? At all.
Yeah.
No, but I didn't even Wi-Fi on the plane. Like, I don't.
I got you.
Maybe the plane had Wi-Fi, and I'm thinking about it, but I'm not obsessed with why. I'm not watching. My wife watches 5 movies on a flight like this. I go to bed, hang out, write stuff, but I'm not like that. I'm a great traveler.
Yeah.
Get a drink, whatever, get 2, ain't going nowhere. So I use that as me time. I love it. Mm-hmm. So she sits next to me. We start a conversation, and she starts telling me, like her rugby story. And she turns out to be the most famous rugby player in the world.
Really?
I don't know this till I land in LA. Here's the deal. So we start the conversation. She's like, oh yeah, we went to the Olympics and we won gold, and we're going over and playing in the sevens in Vegas. Some of the girls have been to Vegas, some haven't been to Vegas. And so we start talking, and I'm like, are you in the business, sports business? Oh, really? I said, she says, I'm a mechanic, by trade. And she gives me her name. Her name's Sharni. You look her up. Right. So she's sitting next to me. We start talking. Sharni, Sharni.
All right.
Just put the Sharni Australia Rugby. She'll pop right up. So she's sitting next to me, and we're flying. And we're 3 hours into the plane. We're talking about sports and rugby and life and Australia and mechanics and the government and Trump and whatever we're talking. Trump wasn't even involved, I think, at that point. He was before that. So right before that. But anyway, so we're flying along, and the Qantas magazine, I pull it out, and it said, she's in the magazine.
Oh my God.
So she's sitting next to me the whole way, and I wind up having this conversation. So we're Facebook friends now, and she's super awesome, cool. And
wow.
But like, you can't do that in a picture. You can't imagine Hawaii and seeing the surfers and eat how good the shrimp taste and how you'll emit the garlic afterwards and how incredible the pineapple tastes when you get it on Oahu. Yep. It's just different, man.
You're not going to run into Sharni at the Epcot, the Australian Epcot place.
But she's flying coach now, but I mean, you just meet the most interesting people
Yeah, yeah,
When you fly or when you go places, and I think it takes away a lot of prejudice. I mean,
sure,
Mark Twain would talk about that and write about that much more eloquently than I would, or Hemingway or
absolutely.
anybody else. But there is something about where we are in the world right now, and you play music in Baltimore, and you say you're in Baltimore, people dog on Baltimore, and that's why I bring this whole thing together. You've made a lot of your money and fed your family in Baltimore, taking pictures of Baltimore, strumming a guitar in Baltimore. You believe in Baltimore. You've had good things and bad things happen to Baltimore. We all have, right? But I want to bring it all home because when I bring people on and talk about our food and our crab cakes and
Yeah,
come into our town, that's the most European kind of town in America. It's a little bit like New Orleans, a little bit quirky, a little bit of this and that.
yeah,
I think we're at a real point over the next 10 years where we can really, together as a community, pull this thing together and make this something we're all really proud of again, because we're all really proud of it to begin with.
yeah. I hope so. I mean, it's exhausting to just have like bad energy between people and politics, and I'm a person that needs that kind of like to be surrounded by good energy and good people at all times, and people who you don't have to agree. Everyone doesn't have to agree with everything, but I like to have just to hear other people's opinions and see where people come from. And we have all this political stuff with the COVID now and the businesses about percentages of people they're allowed in, and when's live music going to come back completely. And it's so exhausting because like for me, I just want everybody to kind of like understand the other side. Like I understand the point of view of a business owner. I understand the point of view of a patron that might be afraid to go into a business and hang out. I understand the science, but I also understand the frustration of the people that are maybe skeptical of the science. So I think it's just the finger pointing and the yelling is the most frustrating thing. But I think that like I think we just got to get over this first of all, so everybody can kind of be happier in general, because there's not all this tension. But of course, I love Baltimore. I always have. That's why I've stayed here. But I see good things. I mean, um, I don't know. I guess I'm just like positive about things in general. I think the city is going to come together. I know we have our issues and we always have, and but I think in general, like when you go out and you talk to people, I mean, everybody's pulling together. I think the people that kind of like bust on Baltimore the most are the people that don't live here and they don't understand the problems. They can just kind of like judge things, but they don't live here and they don't have a chance to meet a lot of the people that are locals and really like get their point of view. It's easy to just read the news about things going on and just say, oh, I'm not going to that city because I'm worried about crime or whatever.
Well, I
But when
take
you
these
live
pictures
here,
from up here every day, and we walk through East Baltimore all the time. I mean, if you follow my Facebook over last year, we haven't been able to go anywhere else.
yeah,
I'm about to do this crab cake thing that's going to blanket the state, because I talk so much about Bali, and which I've never been to Bali, by the way. A lot of places I've never been
yeah.
that are on my list. But there's a lot of places in Maryland. I've never been to Deep Creek Lake, bro. You know what I
Oh
mean?
wow,
Like literally, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so I've never been to Tillman Island. I've never been to Chrisfield. There's a bunch of things I've never
so
done
much.
that this summer is going to be an outdoor,
Hmm.
local. I'm doing a new thing here. No disrespect to the Orioles, and you and I could get into that, or we can have that in part two, Jay. But and where the Ravens are, and where sports is, and where I am as a 52-year-old guy, and the things I'm interested in, I'm really interested in this because this is home, literally,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course. I mean, that's where our souls are. That's where we grew up. That's what you
What
don't
made
want
us like
to.
the Orioles? Because it
What's
said
that?
Baltimore on it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you obviously want to pull for your hometown, and I don't know. I think things are going in a positive way, and I just think we need to just get over all this tension of things that have been happening over the past year. And I think I've been reading things online where there's going to be like a renaissance, so to speak, of like entertainment and growth
The
in
Roaring
town.
Twenties, baby, and I'm here
Exactly,
for
it's
it.
back.
I'm
On the
vaccinated and
property.
ready.
Yeah, I mean, so I think we have good things in store, and I think just the fact that people can go out and do normal things again are just going to like change attitudes overall. You know,
I think a weekend in Vegas with me and the Ravens will change part of my attitude.
I miss Vegas too.
uh, give me an update on your musical gig and what you're doing and what your production company does as well. Because, I mean, a lot of people out there, I mean, you're a dude for hire playing some music. All my
Yeah,
musical buddies are going to be playing. I've told everyone that will listen, and my music background, I won't feel whole until I'm drinking a beer on the lawn at Merriweather.
I
No
got you.
disrespect to the Admirals Cup or you or Eddie or anybody else playing, but
Yeah.
to me, this summer at some point, I
Yeah.
saw the Rod Stewart and Cheap Trick there like August
Oh,
11th,
cool.
and I have never wanted to go to a Rod Stewart Cheap Trick concert as badly in my whole life. And
Yeah.
saw
Yeah.
Rick Nielsen's out strumming down at Ramstead. All of you who do this, and you and your girl singing beautiful songs together, filling up a schedule and
Hmm.
hoping to have a summer you can count on
Yeah.
people coming out and really wanting this in a way they've never wanted it before.
100%. I mean, we have my band, Bad with Names. We have 15 shows in the books right now, which is cool. We're down in Ocean City 4 times throughout from now till the end of the summer. We're going to be there May 7th and 8th. Oh,
I'm
thank
gonna
you,
pull
buddy.
that up. I got it right here on the website. It's a BWN badwithnames music.com. There you go. Purple Moose, y'all played a moose down there. Oh my
Heck
goodness.
yeah,
All
we
right.
love the Moose.
Nice. River Watch. Give a shout out to Sullivan family down there. Give them some love too. And you're playing the Loonies guys. 2 Loonies, north and south. Look at that.
Oh yeah, some of our favorite places to play. Been there a long time, so we're looking forward to all these shows. It's been too long.
What are you playing? I mean, I was in a band once and rehearsing and, all that sort of getting together part. And I've seen the internet has made for all of you musicians. I mean, Eddie Lauer's wherever he is with a cup singing songs, and Ray Bachman's telling jokes, and my wife's got that going on with trivia. You and your girlfriend, I can see your breath and you're singing songs up on balconies and doing Stevie Nicks stuff, whatever. But when you pick songs at this point in your life, if I ever did this again, if I ever put a charity crab night together with you and Lauer and Lamantia and it's Johnny Allen and just got together and jammed, picking the songs is like, you have to want to play stuff you love, right?
Sure. I mean, that's absolutely what we do. I mean, our slogan is keeping it real, keeping it rock. So it's like we stay on the rock side of things. A lot of like classic 90s stuff. We don't get too old with things, but more 90s to current. Stay on the rock side. The Pearl Jam and the Tom Petty. We got some Metallica, Rage Against the Machine, 3 Doors Down. My God, Black Keys, Smashing Pumpkins. Nice. We stay heavy, and that's the stuff that I've always had a passion to sing, and I like to get up there and really rock out. Like we do what we want to do. I mean, there's a time to get up there and play, songs that the crowd's going to be into, and they love our set list, but we try to stay on the heavier side of that, and not say, oh, we got to play a dance song now or whatever. Our people dance to our rock, which is cool, So it's the heavier kind of stuff. When I play the duo show with my girlfriend, Robin, we can pretty much play anything because, she has the soaring female voice. So we kind of run the gamut of all kind of things, in her vocal range. But we also play the things that I play in the band at our acoustic Puns and Roses shows as well. So, and we can harmonize together during the duos. So that's a different kind of thing, whole different thing than the band itself. So it's a lot.
Where's your first trip? Where are you going when you get when life gets normal?
Oh man, I'd love to go to Japan because I've never been. I'd like to go. One of the places I've always been wanting to go on my bucket list is Easter Island, like out far Pacific.
Like that. Just
intriguing. Just this island in the middle of nowhere. Like, how did people get there? How did they live there? Why did they disappear? I love places like that. So maybe far out that way. I've still never been to Africa, like South Africa. Love to do that. I've been to New Zealand, but not Australia. The reason why I started doing the Asian countries is because it's very inexpensive. I did Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand a few years ago. Nice.
Yeah, this is the last thing left for me, dude. This is I'm leaving.
Very nice. Sorry, all I have is a brick wall and Buddha back there.
Well, I'm just trying to mix it up here a little bit. Jason Siemer's our guest. He plays rock and roll. Bad with Names is the band, and Puns and Roses. You can find him usually in Fells Point or anywhere rock and roll music's been played. So our relationship goes back to baseball, right? Like, so you were so worried when I invited you on a show. You're like, if I'm going to do baseball, I at least should change the background here. And do you want gray skies or blue skies over Cameo? I'll do a beautiful sky over Cameo. Is that good?
Yeah.
Make you happy. Is there anything you want to say about any of this? I mean, like I'm not talked out, but I'm kind of 52 and kind of over it. I don't feel like fighting with people about it anymore. But
About what?
30 years into it and a 2-year lease, and the kid doesn't live here, and nobody's going to the games, and I created a life around my love of the team, and I've been banned for 15. It's just sort of like I'd rather be eating crab cakes and hanging out with you than be doing it. And I think it's hard for the community. And I don't know what the future is. This is one of the things with the most promise in all of the community, and has been the least resourceful over 30 years. This is the most disappointing thing of my lifetime, literally. And I'll never shake that in any way, because my kid turned out great. There aren't many things I invested as much in my life as this that turned out so poorly.
Yeah.
I'd say that.
I don't really look at it that way. I mean, I grew up as a, going to Memorial Stadium as a diehard fan, and slept with my baseball glove because I had such a passion for, just being at the games. And
Where'd you grow up, Pasadena?
Grew up in Pasadena, yeah.
Beautiful. What little league you play in and like all that?
I played for Lakeshore Baseball, did the traveling team, went to Chesapeake High School, played, varsity baseball for Chesapeake. And then my career ended. I made second team all county, but that wasn't good enough to get recruited by any schools. So, but at that point I was kind of done anyway. I was kind of burned out, like playing ball. And then I went to Frostburg for my first year of school, and I wasn't going to walk on and play baseball in the freezing cold, because that sucks. So ended up graduating from Towson, and then I landed the job with the Orioles, and I was there for 10 years. And, it was two phases of baseball for me. One was the growing up and playing and being a huge Orioles fan, Memorial Stadium, and being in awe when Camden Yards opened. And then the work aspect, I think I was there, like I said, 10 years, but the first 5, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then you settle in, after a while, and then it becomes more of a job.
And it's not an easy life. Like, as an aspiring person to do it, that would be the thing I see all these kids with wide-eyed, and we're going to do this, and I'm like, baseball, especially given the grind of it, all I ever wanted to do was be a beat writer and travel that life. And I did that life for a while. Mm-hmm. And the best thing he ever did was throw me out, because it's led me in other pursuits of other things in my life that didn't obligate me to have to talk about this right now. You know what I mean? Like, I've spent an hour talking to you about something else other than this. If the Orioles were still all that it was, that's all I talked about. And,
and don't
it wasn't probably healthy for any of us.
Right. I mean, I absolutely loved that job, when I was there, and I got to be really creative and bring things to the entertainment side of things that I always dreamed about when I went to the game. Wow, if I did a video and it could be on the Jumbotron, what would I do? So I got to do that for a long time. But after 10 years, it was like, all right, time to move on. And I started my own business. And then, it was, after a while, when you're just editing baseball videos, as fun as it is, after a while, you're like, well, it's cool to like freshen up and do something different, so part of the reason why I wanted to move on and do my own thing is for the variety, so now I shoot music videos for bands and work at Georgetown University doing, sitting in on lectures and, filming things like that. I'm doing photo shoots, portrait shoots, events, doing the stuff with the band more. I couldn't do that when I was working for the Orioles, because you're working 70 hours a week for 2-3 weeks in a row when the team's in town, and double headers and going through rain delays, and you can't have a band schedule. You can't play gigs when you have that.
Nothing sucks like a rain delay, I'll tell you that. In all my life, nothing has sucked like that.
I remember doing back-to-back double headers. This is when I was just like going crazy there. I forget what year it was, but we were so burned out, and it was like back-to-back double headers, and there was rain delays all throughout 2 double headers in a row. And I was just like, how much more of this? But, that being said, I got to see, Cal Ripken retire, and the ceremony surrounding that, and Eddie Murray's, 500 home run ceremony. And, of course, they were in the playoffs in '97 when I was first there, but then the rest of my time there, they didn't make the playoffs again. So that kind of made it tough too, because there was those lean years in there when you're running, trying to entertain a crowd that maybe isn't there. There weren't many people there, and you're trying to pump up the players, but like when team's not playing well, or they're in last place, you could only play so much like, motivating music. After that, the players have to like hit the ball and pitch well, So that became kind of a frustrating job, because your job is to, kind of keep the energy up at the park. And when the team isn't playing well, they're responsible for the energy ultimately.
Well, ultimately for me, I love what baseball has left me, which is a lifetime residue of people like you that I met you on the plane. It was just a baseball game,
Yeah.
and bringing you along for baggage. Jason Siemer is here. Bad with Names is the band they're booking. And also, I would say the music scene in our city. And Don Moeller always hits me about this. I got Johnny O on this week, so I'm gonna go get him about Catonsville being a music city. And, I know all the things that Tony Toscoff's done down in Anne Arundel County with live music forever and ever and ever. Now doing it with cannabis. Happy 420 to you, Toscoff. Today's the day, baby. Everything's on sale. So anyway, I would just say this, where we are with live music, and I've got my Ticketmaster app on my new phone and my StubHub that I haven't touched, but my Stones tickets are still in here. My
Wow.
Pearl Jam tickets are still in here from that show we missed by a couple of days.
Wow.
I missed the Styx show by 3 days at the Warner. If I would have died during the plague, the last show I would have seen would have been Cheap Trick at the Warner Theater, which was great. I mean, that would have been okay. It would have been a fine Last Supper because they were great that night.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to do it again. And I would think for the region in the area, this is a really nice time to show how many Ed Lauers and Jason Siemers and Frank Florence's and the people that I've met over all of these years. You go name them, Dave Teefy, all these people I know who sold me my ID Life, by the way. Thank you very much, Dave. But all of you working hard and making some money and entertaining people. That venues are popping up now. I had Mickey Kitchell on. He's doing a comedy venue 2 blocks from where I grew up over in Dundalk. They're going to be trying to make it, and this is a great opportunity for every young Jason Siemer or every old fart like me trying to learn the Roy Clark method of strumming to go out that people really want it, and they don't want it on live stream anymore. They want it someplace where they can breathe on somebody and talk to somebody they don't know at a bar.
Yeah, I mean that was I guess the good part about the technology we have is we were able to do the live stream thing just to have some sense of performing. And my girlfriend and I went out into the streets of Fells Point when everything first shut down, and we were doing,
I saw you in front of the waterfront, dude. It looked like something. When I saw it really late at night, and I saw it, and I'm like, this looks like they're on a scene of Guys and Dolls. It looks like they're on a professional Broadway set.
Yeah. We wanted to do something a little different than just sitting in the living room, and us we live in the neighborhood or whatever, so. Us just being able to get out there was a way for other people to connect to us and to at least see us in that element, even though we weren't inside.
I should have invited her on the show with you. It's awful that she can't be a part of the show. Yeah, because I'd like to have her tell stories about you too. So, so Puns and Roses, how did that give me a little primer on that? Because I see as much of that as your band hasn't played much in the last year. Let's be honest, right? You were Puns and Roses for about 8 months last year.
Yeah, the acoustic shows for me are basically fill-in gigs when the band's not performing. So if there's a hole in the schedule or somebody else in the band can't play, I open up my schedule to take, the acoustic stuff. And Robin is in a band called Shake the Room, and they're very successful. Play regionally all over the place. They're really booked solid this whole summer too. So basically, it's when our schedules have open dates. We take these duo gigs, and we both are known for our puns and witty kind of banter. So we kind of took that and called the duo Puns and Roses. So our show is kind of like us bantering as well as playing the music, and it's done pretty well, and it's a good chance to still get out and do things when the bands aren't playing.
Vaccinated? You got shot?
What's that?
Vaccinated? You got your shot?
I got the first one. I got my Moderna last Monday at BCCC, and I'm waiting on shot 2 May 11th, and I got it early in the week because I think I have a gig that weekend, so I want to have a couple days to let it do its thing on whatever whatever it's going to do.
I'm feeling the same way. I'm Pfizer 1, second shot May 7th, May 8th. I'm expecting a hangover.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm doing? Because I'm such a music guy and I'm a little bit of a like a Mary Lou Henner type. I saw Journey on May 8th, 1982 on the Escape tour. I had my ticket stub. So May 8th, I always think of Journey. So I'm just going to like have a Journey marathon for some sort of hangover on May 8th and celebrate them. It is amazing celebrating music, man. I've talked so much this month about U2 and about Rush and the loss of Neil Peart and, you know, the Beatles and kids songs. I had Sam Sessa on talking about TMD and, you know, they had their boat rides through the harbor with Rufus last summer. So I am looking forward to doing that. I can't wait to meet your girl. I missed you like 2 or 3 times at the Admirals Cup during the summer. We were like ships passing in the night. And I got recruited over to the Pendry with free drinks. It was a mess. The hangover. I hope the hangover on May 8th is not in any way resemble what happened to me last August. That's all.
Well, I figure I would want you to go get free drinks instead of hang out with me. So that's fine.
It involved birthdays and tequila, and I don't, you know, next thing you know, it wasn't like being in the back seat in Seoul doing $150 though. Let me tell you that. So here's my little gift to you. First things first, you're still invited to the next crazy thing I do that would chase a band around. I will let you know what that is. I don't know whether it would be like the Stones in Colombia, like Bogota, not Colombia, like Harrod County, like Bogota. I regret that. When my wife was sick when the Stones played South America and Havana, and I had a beat on Havana. I went to Havana in '99 with the Orioles. Were you on that trip?
No, I was working in the control room when Cuba came here. The Cuban game.
What a disgrace that was.
That was crazy.
Oh my God. That was not a glorious night in the history. No bueno, I would say on that. But yeah, I went to Cuba. So, you know, like I would just say this whole like period of time deciding sports or music or life or the city or what to do. I just hope we that we do come back. And I certainly hope music takes off the way I'm betting. If music were a stock right now, dude, I would just be so all in because I want it bad.
Yeah,
I think
it's
everybody
going
does.
to. I mean, look at all the projects that people have been doing, you know, recording their own records, you know, while they're holed up in their studio or whatever because of COVID, they're not able to get out. But it's
Taylor Swift might have made 5 albums this year.
Yeah. It's cool to see how people have taken that time and just got creative with it because that's what we do. You have to have an outlet to, you know, just bury yourself in it. If you can't do this, stay doing what you're doing. And then once things open up, it's going to be, like you said, I think it's just going to be a lot of energy and things are just going to be that renaissance talked about.
Play me some Tom Petty. I saw Kirk's band out playing too last weekend, so I almost went out there. And there's a new place out in York Road. I mean, new places popping up. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dude, appreciate you, man. Solid brotherhood to you, you know, through all this baseball nonsense and friendship and traveling. The U2 show that you missed in Tokyo is online. It is in HD, like 4K, like beautiful.
Oh, cool.
It is.
They professionally released that? Did they mix it in actually?
No, it's a YouTube
kind of
boot. Yeah, I'm going to find it for you so everybody can see it because I want to show you how beautiful it is.
Where were you sitting?
I was sitting in the pit and I had.
I hate you even more now.
Yeah, well, and here's the deal. Like when you travel, and this goes back to meeting nice people, and I want to make sure that I have the right viewing on this. Yeah, this is the right one. So when you're in certain places, like I saw Springsteen one night where everyone was stoned out of their mind in Denver. And I got closer than I ever was. Nobody pushed, nobody shoved. I have incredible video, pictures, whatever. Everybody's like, yeah, man, cool, no problem. You know, a lot of times in a Jersey pit or a Philadelphia pit, you tell somebody to shut up because Bruce is singing Drive All Night and they're having a conversation about the salami they had for lunch in the pit. Where, you know, like crazy, like so etiquette it shows. Don't, dude, that's segment 3 for you and me. Bring you back.
Big shows, especially.
Yeah, you know, especially when you're
dollar and
spending a lot of money to see Barbara Streisand at the Garden. I don't need to hear you talk over here. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like I'm there.
Don't go. You know,
please, right? I mean, exactly. So this Japanese show, I want to let the ad play before I pull it up and this was the most polite crowd because Japanese people are polite, right? It's just very polite. And
Yeah.
and everyone was singing Led Zeppelin songs before. And you two, as you probably know from the Joshua Tree, they opened every night with the Waterboys song. What was the song? Now I lost the name of the song. But anyway, I have to skip ad because it's just the way it is. So getting into the pit and maneuvering, everyone was cool the
Mm.
whole night and no one sang along.
Hmm.
So it's much like a French crowd. I once
Okay.
got judged at a Springsteen show in Paris for singing along. So literally, right? So at Bercy. But this thing here in Satiamo, the interesting part about it was it wasn't a football rink or a hockey rink or a basketball rink or a baseball stadium. It was like an event center that I have no idea of what it could possibly be used for.
Huh.
And it was like this gigantic theater, bigger than a hockey rink by a little, but way, way smaller than a dome.
So just
So
concerts, so no real sports playing in there. Like,
yeah, so I mean, I'll pull it up here. Yeah, I mean, and maybe watch it in like more of a full screen
oh, cool.
jam. You seeing that?
Yeah.
So I actually saw the plane. The plane had the Joshua Tree, logo on the side, and these were the last, Joshua Tree shows. So this is the arena,
Oh,
and,
cool.
and it looks sort of like a mall, right?
Yeah.
And this thing was really well put together, man. Like, and really, really well shot, and it's
Oh,
very HD and it's very killer, as you can see.
sounds good
So,
too.
so oh my God, sounds perfect. It's like board sound.
Okay.
So here's my gift to you that you missed the show.
Yeah.
I want you to at least be able to feel yourself here. I'll pull it back up so you can feel the stage. You can feel a little Sunday Bloody Sunday
Love it.
here in the beginning,
Yeah.
and I don't know how they got this many camera angles or this many shots or shot it nearly as well. And it's the next best thing to you saying yes to me,
Yeah.
that you can re-experience the show. Okay.
Hey, real quick, that made me think of something. It's something you should look up. You remember when YouTube played the Apollo in New York City years back?
I do.
That was like a one night only show, I think. That's on YouTube also. And that's one of the coolest shows.
I had a friend that won like the contest for Sirius or whatever it was that went. I had a
Yeah, it was
friend of mine that attended that
very
show.
last minute kind of thing.
Life altered. It was about 7 or 8 years ago, probably,
Yeah,
right?
they brought in a whole, a choir and everything.
Springsteen did a show there when he kicked off. Google Rocky Ground, the word Rocky Ground and Springsteen at the Apollo.
Okay.
Unbelievable, because it was kind of written for sort of, that sort of black choral, gospel arrangement.
Cool.
And it's performed that way. Really unbelievable.
Yeah.
Dude, you and I could probably sit and, I drink a lot of beer and you play a lot of guitar if we got together. Jason Siemer here, Bad with Names. It's the reason I'm bringing all you musician types on here right now. So, I mean, I'm in a series. It's not that I don't want you to feel special, because you'll always be special to me, but I'm having them all you and your buddies on, and hopefully bringing, I want a shot in the arm for my town. And I think live music and getting people out dining and moving around a little bit is going to be good for all of our souls. I believe that.
Completely agree. Completely agree. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, man. We'll talk about Bali next time because I haven't been, and I'm jelly.
We have a lot to talk about.
Jason Siemer, man, missed the mom couch thing too. Love to you on all of that, and but I'll get you back on the program. I'm gonna get you and Lauer in here together, and
That'd be fun.
You can gang tackle me and pick on me. It'd be fun.
Oh yeah, we have that would be really good. Seriously, let's make that happen. I love it.
Eddie said to me, I was at the Admiral's Cup, and I was with Patrick Sutton. I was with Tracy Monica. I was with them a couple of weeks ago. It was a beautiful day. My wife had just left town. We're walking around, and Eddie comes up and season starting. He's all Orioled up, like he always is, giving me a hard. You too hard on the Orioles. I'm like, they're gonna lose 105 games, dude. They're gonna be hard on themselves, So he said to me, you can leave tickets in the tip jar. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna leave you money in the tip jar. Whatever you do with it.
Yeah.
You want to spend it on the Orioles and it makes you happy, man. Be happy, Eddie. I just want you to be happy. And by the way, Eddie's dog Noodles is having a little surgery, so give a prayer up for Noodles, because I know how important Noodles is. Noodles. Yeah. Hey, man.
Real quick story about Eddie. He's the first guy that
it doesn't have to be quick. Yeah, I love Eddie's story. So yes.
He when I lived in Fells Point for the first time back when I started for the Orioles, '97. I lived above the Soundgarden over in Fells, which is right near the horse you came in on.
I was gonna say, man, it got loud there.
Oh yeah, Never Never every Tuesday night. Todd Miller band. It's Honor Among Thieves, I think, played around that time. But I would walk out, in the neighborhood, and Ed started playing down there acoustically, like all over the place. And he was at the Horse every Friday and Saturday night, I believe, at the time. And I remember the first gig I ever actually sat. It wasn't a gig. It was me just hanging at the bar and striking up a conversation with Eddie. He was at the Fells Point Cafe. Remember the 723 Club? And next to it was the Fells Point Cafe.
I used to sing with him at the 723 at the cafe. We used to do Bodine songs there once in a while.
Okay, well, that's the first time I ever was on a stage in Fells Point. I was talking to Ed. He's like, "You want to do a song?" And I think we did U2, like In God's Country or something like that.
Wow.
But, that's how I met Ed, and I've been friends with him ever since. So that was like 97. So we go way back in the community and the music scene and all that. So
I am so effing old. Like, Furman and I go every time Furman comes on, we talk Max's on Broadway.
Yeah.
And the night the lights went out in Fells Point and the Rembrandts did a candlelight show, and David Cassidy and me drinking beer with Danny Bonaducci on the second.
Wow.
Crazy stuff, right? But here's a story I don't think I've ever told this one. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But on my 21st birthday, I was the music critic of the Evening Sun. And I had been the critic for a couple 3 years by then, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I spent all this backstage time before my 21st birthday backstage at Hammerjacks, where Mickey Coachella and Jill DeVille and Mike Brillhart will gladly bend your ears about little Nestor on the couch with the ponytail, talk, with the notebook, talking to all the bands, right?
Yeah.
And so on my birthday, my 21st birthday, momentous night, right? The band Bad English played Hammerjacks.
Okay.
Pretty incredible band, right? I mean, John Waite, Dean Castronovo, Jonathan Cain, Neil Schon, right?
Yeah.
The night before my birthday was the 13th, a Friday the 13th. And on that midnight Friday night was my 21st birthday. Friday night at 10:35 p.m., I was officially only 20 years old, 364 days, that I couldn't legally drink until midnight.
Okay.
This is in the era, it's a little before you. Well, you're 46. It wasn't quite, what was the name of the surf bar that was around the corner, like where on the second, Surfside Sally's?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Woo! Ric Flair on that. How did I come up with that?
Good job.
Oh, man, that's Mary Lou Henner action there. So I went to the Horse you came in on, and I showed my ID to the bouncer at like 10:30. Because we didn't go to bars at 8:30 in those days. You know what I mean? You didn't go out till 10 o'clock.
I still don't.
And I'm like ready to be bent. You know what I mean? I've been hanging out in Hammerjacks for 3 years with like Paul Stanley and stuff, right? All I wanted to do was go into the Horse and celebrate my 21st birthday.
Yeah.
It was like 10:40 at night. And the bouncer looked at me. He's like, "Hey, dude, you don't turn 21 till midnight. Come back." And I said,
"Wow."
I gave him the old Johnny Cash. Yeah, I gave him the, I'm never coming back.
Yeah.
And I don't think I went into the Horse for 20 years.
I mean,
until Eddie started playing there.
He's doing the right thing, man.
Hey, I'm just saying, man, that happened to me. It was 1989, you know what I mean? But but I had that experience. But you were living upstairs. I'm just saying, like, I've given the Horse plenty of my money. My wife and I have been in there a million times. Don't come at me. Please don't come at me. I've had good times at the Horse. I've had really good times at the Horse. Most of them involved Eddie Lauer. Man, I love you. I got to come see the band, right? So how about this? This is a tough question.
Yeah.
If I'm only going to come see you once in my life, which child do you like the best?
We have so many good shows on the schedule. Do you want to go to the beach? You want to go to Ocean City and see us? Come to the Purple Moose. We're there May 7th and 8th, June 11th and 12th, July 2nd and 3rd, and September 24th and 25th. If you're going to see us local, come to the Admirals Cup, because that's where our heart is. But we really want to push this Essex Riverwatch show coming up.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
May 22nd. It's the first time our band has played outside on the stage outside at Riverwatch on a Saturday.
I have been on that stage. Stan Stock is at Riverwatch.
Okay, yeah.
Stan Gibson's a childhood friend of mine, and my family loves Stan. I've done Stan Stock at Riverwatch. So that's the 22nd at 6 p.m. Look at that. All right.
May 22nd. We're bringing the big sound system. It's going to rock, and we're gonna have a great time on the river there.
All right. So, do I get to roll VIP or do I have to call the Sullivan? What do I have to do? Who do I have to know to get in on the 22nd in Middle River?
I guess we'll let you in.
All
Show
right.
your ID, make sure you're legal and everything.
All right, man.
Get you
Well, I'm
in.
going to break this into two segments. The one where we travel the world and the other one we travel Middle River. All right?
Sounds good.
Jason Siemer, Bad with Names, and Jason Siemer Productions, of course, out on Facebook, Twitter, puns, roses, music, U2, travel, pictures of the harbor that are nicer than mine because he has a better lens. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, geezing about rock and roll and waiting for the music to come back and the beer to be cold. We are BaltimorePositive.com.